Okay, it's time to have a review. Some of you need to go over these basics. Please do not shame yourself or knock yourself. Oh, I have to review this. I don't know this. None of that. Just accept where you are, learn what you need to know, and then move forward. Okay? So let's have a little bit of a review. Number 1, point slope form. So here's the slope. Here's a point that you would plug in. This is called point slope form. This is called standard form of an equation. Here we have our A, our B, our C equals 0. A, B, and C are integers. In other words, there's no fractions or decimals. A and B are both not 0. Okay? And A also has to be positive. A is greater than 0. Okay? We've gone over the equation for slope. So let's write an equation in standard form for a line that passes through the given point and has the same slope. So you know, in order to write the equation of any line, you need two things. You need a slope and you need a point. And if they don't give you a slope and a point, then they give you enough information to find the slope and a point. So let's write that down. To write an equation of a line, you need a slope and a point. Okay? So here, we have a slope and a point. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to write this here. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And here's our x1. Here's our y1, and here's our m. So let's plug it in. So y1 is 5, m is 2, and x1 is 3. Then we multiply it out and we put it into standard form. So this is y minus 5 equals 2x minus 6. We bring everything over to the left side. So we have negative 2x plus y minus 5 plus 6 equals 0, right? Because everything that goes over to the other side changes sign. And then, and I just put it in order of x, y, and numbers. And then we're going to collect. And then we're going to make sure, we're going to make sure all of these stipulations are met. So there's no fractions. Awesome. A and B are not 0. Here the number in front of A is, of course, the coefficient of x, and B is the coefficient of y, and that's just a fancy term for the numbers in front of those variables. And then we know that A has to be positive. So here, if this is negative, which it is, we know if we just multiply both sides by -1, that's the same as just changing the value of everything we have. So the steps were 1, plug in to equation, which we were given there. 2 is simplify. So we multiplied out brackets, and then we collected our terms, or actually let's first say brought everything over to the left side and put in order, right? We put the x's, then the y's, then the constants equal 0. X, y, constants equal 0. Then 4 was we collected like terms, right? We made this equal to 1. Collect like terms. And then here we made A greater than 0. Now sometimes it ends up being greater than 0 and you don't have to do that step, but you have to check it. Okay? So let's do this again. We've got y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. And now we're going to plug in y1 is negative 3. So minus 3. Slope is negative 1/2. And x is positive 1. So first thing we're going to do is simplify. So we're going to do this, and then 1/2 x plus 1. We multiply with the brackets. Now, something we didn't have to do here, but we might have to, so I'm just going to call this 2a because it's in between 2 and b, is get rid of fractions. So if you have fractions, you got to get rid of them. And how do you get rid of fractions? Well, you multiply both sides by the lowest common denominator. Lowest common denominator. Okay, so this is over 1, over 1, over 2, over 1. So the lowest common denominator is 2. So we're going to multiply this by 2, and we're going to multiply this by 2. So 2y plus 6, and 2 times negative 1 over 2 is equal to negative 1. Let me just do that here. 2 times, make sure you can see this, 2 times negative 1/2, right? That's the same as 2 over 1 times negative 1 over 2, so that's negative 2 over 2, which reduces to negative 1. So that's where that negative 1 comes from. And then negative 1x, and then 2 times positive 1. And then we're going to bring everything back over here. Right? 2a just squeezes in there if we have fractions. Then we're going to bring everything over to the left-hand side. So we're going to put the x first. You don't have to write 1x, right? Negative 1 becomes positive 1. 2y plus 6 minus 2 equals 0, because positive 2 coming over is negative 2. And then we don't have to deal with a being negative, because it's already positive. And we're done. There's our standard form. Okay, let's see what's next. Now we're going to write an equation in standard form for the line that goes through these points. Now we said in order to find the equation of a line, we need a slope and a point. And if they don't give it to us, they'll give us enough information to find it. Do we have a point? Yeah. Well, actually we have two. We can pick either one because they're both points on the line. Do we have a slope? No. Do we have enough information to find the slope? Yes. So let's do that. So slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, x1, y1, x2, y2 if you need it. Please do it. 7 minus 5 over 3 minus 4 is 2 over negative 1, which is equal to negative 2. So now I have slope is negative 2. I'm going to pick one point. It doesn't matter which. I'll just pick B. And then I've got y. So this is stage 1. And then stage 2 is y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. And then my y1 is 7. My m is negative 2. And my x1 is 3. And once I have that, I'm going to multiply it out. Bring everything over to the left side. I've got no fractions to deal with. So I've got positive 2x, positive y, minus 7, minus 6. And then I'm going to collect those. And then I'm going to see a is positive, so I don't have to do anything else, and I'm done. Okay? So let's do another one. You get started. There's two steps here. First, you have to find the slope, and then use the slope and a point to find the equation of the line. So while you're doing the work, you get started. Here's the example. We just did it. While you get started, I'm going to just write down in English what we're doing. So, 1, find slope. 2, with slope. And 1 point. Find the equation of the line. Okay, are you done the slope yet? Let's see if I got what you did. You'll check. So, as you know, when you're tested in math in many countries, you're tested for content, like do you know the work, and you're also tested for your communication. You're tested for your problem skills, you're tested for the thinking and inquiry, the knowledge, the understanding, all of it. So make sure you include this stuff, because if you don't do this stuff, you're not going to get full marks on your communication. Okay. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is 2 over 5, and 2 over 5 doesn't reduce, so I've got my slope is 2 over 5. I'm going to use the point 3, negative 1. I just eeny, meeny, miny, mode it. Doesn't matter which one you use. And then we've got y minus 1 equals m x minus 1. Okay, let's multiply out our brackets. Let's get rid of our fractions. We're going to multiply both sides by 5. So I've got 5y plus 5 equals 2x minus 6. Come over here. Then I'm going to bring everything over to the left-hand side. So that's negative 2x plus 5y plus 1 plus 6 equals 0. Then I have negative 2x plus 5 plus 7 equals 0. And then I'm going to, oops, what am I doing? Equal sign. Then I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1 and change this so that a is positive. So that's change that sign, change that sign, change that sign. And that doesn't change because positive and negative 0 are the same, just plain old 0. All right, so that's how you do questions to find the equation of a line, whether you're given the slope and a point or whether they give you enough information to find the slope and then use slope and point. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Write an equation in standard form for the horizontal line and the vertical line through each point. Well, I know it's going to be so much easier if we graph these, so I'm going to graph them. That's what I'm doing for sure, and I highly recommend that if you're ever sitting in math class and you're finding that something is just not clicking, you draw a picture of it. And if you don't know how to draw a picture of it, ask your teacher. I'm sure your teacher is more than happy to help you with anything they know that you're not understanding, right? It's their job to teach you. It's your job to learn. You got to ask if you don't understand something. So here, the point 4, 6. So there's 4, there's 6-ish. It's a sketch. It's not precision. We're not drawing a graph that's going to be printed in a textbook here. And a vertical line and a horizontal line. So a vertical line, let's first do a horizontal line, because that's what they ask. Horizontal first, and then vertical. So there's our horizontal line. Now, all of these points have something in common. Let's see. Here, the point has the coordinates 4, 6. Here, the point has the coordinates 5, 6. Here, the point has the coordinates 3, 6. Are you noticing what they all have in common? They all have a y value that's equal to 6. So the equation of this line is y equals 6. Now let's do the vertical line. The vertical line, you're going to see the same thing. So the vertical line, let's pick some points. Let's say down here at negative 2. This point is going to be negative 2, 4. This point is going to be negative 1, 4. Oops, I totally did that backwards. Don't kill me. 4, negative 2, right? We do y and then negative 2. And then 4, negative 1. We do the x value, then we do the y value. All right, we do x and then y. So when we have x and then y, what do we notice about all of these points? They all have an x value of 4. So the equation of that line will be x equals 4. And that's how you do this. So you will have two equations here. One will be x equals -5, and one will be y equals 2. Here, one will be x equals 0, and one will be y equals -9. And that is how you write the equation. Oh, I didn't write it in standard form. Forgive me. Standard form, don't forget, is everything and then equals 0. So I need to bring these over. So hold on a second. So if these were the equations, let me put them in standard form. So this will be x minus 4 equals 0. This will be y minus 6 equals 0. This will be x plus 5 equals 0, and at y minus 2 equals 0. And this will be still x equals 0 because there's nothing to bring over. And here this will be y plus 9 equals 0. So normally we write these equations in this format, but this question specifically asked us to write it in standard form. And standard form is bring everything over to the left side and put it in order of x, y, constant equals 0. And you'll notice lines on an angle have an x and a y, but lines that are totally vertical only have a y, and lines that are totally horizontal only have a y, and lines that are totally vertical only have an x. And there's the proof right there.